Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going deep into Big Pharma,
Big Pharma.
specifically how it works, how it markets its products, and its influence on all our healthcare choices.
Yeah.
We are going to be referencing the study guide for the documentary Big Bucks, Big Pharma, Marketing Disease and Pushing Drugs.
Right.
So have you ever thought about how many deaths are caused by adverse drug reactions?
It's a lot.
It's actually the fifth leading cause of death in the U.S.,
Wow.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
But that is just one of the many things we'll impact today.
Well, it's interesting because, Big Pharma's marketing has really evolved over the years. They used to really focus mainly on healthcare professionals.
Yeah.
But now they're spending billions of dollars on direct-to-consumer advertising.
Yeah,
So that means, we were all constantly bombarded with messages about prescription drugs.
right.
Often, I think, without the knowledge to really understand them
Yeah.
properly,
It's like they're selling happiness in a pill bottle, right?
It is. It is.
They got the smiling people. They got the beautiful scenery.
Mm-hmm.
They're using classic branding techniques to make us associate these drugs with, a better life.
Exactly. And it's interesting, right? Because they're creating this sort of emotional connection that can overshadow the
Okay.
potential risks.
Right.
Yeah. Because you see these beautiful, idyllic images.
Yeah.
Right? And then you see this long list of side effects.
Yeah.
Some of which can be quite serious, right?
Yeah.
But the positive emotions stick with us. Right?
Yeah.
The positive emotions stick with us.
Yeah. I've even heard of people going to their doctors and being like, hey, I saw this thing on TV. I need that.
Exactly.
They don't even know what the drug is for.
Exactly. Speaking of advertising, you remember Vioxx?
Yes.
That arthritis drug was advertised more than Budweiser in 2000.
Wow.
Crazy. But then later it was found to increase the risk of heart attacks.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what the priorities are really, right?
It does. It does raise the question of whether those ads are truly educational, as the industry claims.
Can a 30-second commercial really give you a balanced understanding of a complex medical condition? Or the potential risks of a drug?
Right.
The companies, of course, they want to present their products in the best possible light
Yeah.
because they profit from those sales.
So this is something I've always found fascinating. How can there be so many drugs that do basically the same thing?
Well-
There's just shelves and shelves full of allergy meds,
Mhm.
and they seem to be pretty much identical.
Well, you've just discovered the world of Me Too drugs.
Me Too drugs.
Yeah. So these are essentially copycat medications
Okay.
that offer, little to no improvement over what's already available.
Okay.
And the thing is, they're cheaper to develop, right? Because they don't require much research or innovation.
So wait, so instead of finding groundbreaking cures, they're just churning out slightly different versions of the same drug and then spending a fortune to convince us to buy them?
Well, they're competing for market share, right? And ultimately, that means more profits for them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So take Lipitor, for example. It was the world's top-selling drug.
Yeah.
But it's actually the fourth in a line of similar cholesterol medications.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so, are these Me Too drugs actually beneficial for patients? Or are they just adding to confusion and driving up costs?
It's a good question.
Like Nexium, right? Nexium's basically just Prilosec with a new color and a higher price.
That's right. AstraZeneca was facing a patent expiration on Prilosec.
Oh, okay.
So they launched Nexium to maintain their market dominance.
Oh.
So, while some might argue that having more options is good, the reality is these drugs often offer minimal clinical advantages.
Right.
And, this practice drives up costs for patients without, significant benefit.
Right.
Think about that the next time you're at the pharmacy facing a wall of choices.
I know. It's like we're being trained to think we need a pill for every little thing.
Right.
Even if
Yeah.
it's just a normal part of life.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, are we all just becoming over-reliant on medication?
Well, you're touching on a very important concept called disease mongering.
Disease mongering.
Yeah. It's basically widening the definition of diseases or medicalizing normal human experiences to create a larger market for drugs. It's about turning, everyday anxieties and inconveniences into medical conditions that require treatment.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a little unnerving, isn't it?
it is.
To think that the definition of what's considered healthy is just constantly shifting.
It is.
Is this just a way to make us all feel like we need fixing, even if we feel fine?
Well, the concern is, right, by subtly changing these standards, pharmaceutical companies can create more potential customers for their products.
Right.
Right, and that can lead to people taking medications they don't actually need,
Right.
exposing them to potential side effects without any real benefit.
I'm thinking about like Paxil, which was initially approved for major depression, but then heavily marketed for social anxiety disorder. Yeah. But isn't social anxiety just another word for shyness?
Exactly. And so, GlaxoSmithKline actually hired a public relations firm to raise awareness about social anxiety. They even created like this self-diagnosis quiz online.
Wow.
So critics say that they were essentially medicalizing normal human shyness,
Yeah.
potentially leading to overdiagnosis and overmedication.
And then there's Prozac, which was rebranded as Seraphim specifically for premenstrual dysphoric disorder.
Yes.
PMDD.
TMBD.
Isn't that basically a more severe version of PMS?
It is. That's right. It's the same drug.
Yeah.
Just repackaged and marketed for a different condition, but with a much higher price tag.
Wow.
Seraphim costs 3 times as much as generic Prozac.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they're bypassing the costly and time-consuming process of actually developing new drugs.
Yeah.
But then also they're charging you more.
They are.
It just feels manipulative, especially when you think about the risks involved.
Yeah.
But this is just like the consumer side of things, right?
Right.
What about the tactics that Big Pharma uses to influence doctors?
Yeah.
It can't all just be flashy TV commercials.
You're absolutely right. While direct-to-consumer advertising is highly visible, a significant portion of Big Pharma's marketing budget is actually directed at healthcare professionals. We're talking billions of dollars spent on conferences, branded swag, free samples,
Yeah.
fancy educational events, all disguised as ways to educate doctors about the latest advancements in medicine.
It's a never-ending stream of perks.
It is. It is.
I read somewhere, I think it was in one of these sources, that doctors and medical students get so much like branded stuff that they're walking billboards.
Oh, yeah. By creating a sense of familiarity and goodwill, these companies aim to foster positive associations with their products in the minds of doctors.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, this is nice.
Speaking of those educational events, they sound a little sus,
Yes.
Are they really educational or are they just clever marketing?
You're perceptive. These events are often presented as opportunities for learning and networking, but they're essentially marketing ploys. Doctors are invited to luxurious resorts, wined and dined, and presented with carefully crafted information designed to promote specific medications.
It's like an all-expenses-paid vacation,
You've hit the nail on the head. And it doesn't stop there. Sales representatives also have generous budgets to entertain doctors,
Okay.
showering them with gifts, free meals, even trips.
Really?
Yeah. It's all disguised as educational expenses, which, shockingly, is perfectly legal.
Wow. They pull out all the stops. But doesn't this create a conflict of interest? Like, I know we talked about a former pharmaceutical marketer, Gene Carbona, who admitted that giving doctors expensive gifts, golf clubs and cases of scotch was standard practice,
Right.
and that it's still happening today.
Yeah. And Carbona's revelations really give us a peek behind the curtain of, Big Pharma's marketing machine.
Yeah.
They might deny these practices, but it's hard to ignore the potential for undue influence.
Right.
After all,
Yeah.
they invest billions in marketing for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's to increase their profits.
But what about free samples? I feel like, aren't those helpful? Like, especially for people who can't afford certain medications?
Well, while it might seem like a good thing, right? Free samples are actually a very powerful marketing tool. In 2004 alone, the retail value of free drug samples was a staggering $16 billion.
Wow.
These samples, primarily for new and expensive drugs, are a way to get patients hooked on a specific brand, often before cheaper generics become available.
So they get you hooked on a particular drug, and then you're more likely to ask your doctor for it,
That's exactly right.
even if there are more affordable options.
Exactly. It's all part of the plan to shape prescribing habits and drive sales. And let's be clear,
Yeah.
this whole marketing machine benefits branded drugs,
Mm-hmm.
not generics, which are often just as effective and significantly cheaper.
Okay. So with all this marketing directed at doctors, how do they manage to stay objective,
Right.
and resist the influence? Are they really immune to these tactics?
That's a question researchers have been studying for years, and the answer is not as clear-cut as we might hope.
Right.
Studies show that doctors, even those who believe they're immune to marketing, can be influenced by these tactics.
So even the most well-intentioned doctors can be swayed.
Yeah,
That's concerning.
it is. And it underscores the importance of like critical thinking and independent research when making healthcare decisions.
Yeah.
You know, doctors need to be aware of the potential biases embedded in these marketing campaigns
Right.
and actively seek out unbiased information.
It's a real challenge for them
It is, it
with
is,
the sheer volume of marketing they're exposed to.
it is. But thankfully, some doctors are pushing back against this influence. They're speaking out, educating their peers, medical
Yeah.
students, and advocating for more transparency and accountability within the industry.
It's heartening to hear.
Yeah.
There's like a movement to bring integrity back
Yeah,
and prioritize patient well-being over profits.
exactly. And this movement is actually gaining momentum. And one of the key figures in this is Dr. Bob Goodman.
Dr. Bob Goodman.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the founder of No Free Lunch, a nonprofit organization dedicated to educating medical professionals about Big Pharma's influence.
No free lunch. That's a good name.
It is.
Fighting against all the free stuff they use to sway people.
That's right. That's right. So they empower doctors to resist those tactics and make decisions based on, scientific evidence
Yeah.
and the needs of their patients, not industry pressure.
Okay.
They encourage medical schools to incorporate this type of training, and they've even developed a pledge for doctors to sign.
A pledge.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that involve?
So by signing the pledge, doctors commit to refusing gifts from pharmaceutical companies and relying on independent sources for medical information.
Right.
So it's a powerful statement, about ethical and unbiased healthcare practices.
So Dr. Goodman's hope is that someday patients will be able to easily find out if their doctor has signed the pledge.
Exactly.
So they can choose healthcare providers who are going to prioritize their well-being over profits.
Exactly.
That would be fantastic. But I mean, educating doctors is only one piece of the puzzle.
It is.
What else can be done to counter Big Pharma's influence,
That's a crucial question.
on the healthcare system?
It is, because individual efforts, while commendable, aren't enough to address the larger systemic issues.
Yeah.
Right. So we need to also examine, the political landscape.
Ah, here we go. I knew there had to be a political angle.
There is. There is.
Okay.
And, Big Pharma's lobbying power in Washington.
Yeah, they're known for that, right?
Oh, yeah. They are one of the most powerful lobbying groups in Washington.
Yeah.
They spend billions annually to influence legislation and shape healthcare policies to benefit their interests,
So they're writing the rules of the game,
essentially,
essentially.
to make sure that it keeps working in their favor. Right. And it's not just Congress they're influencing. Big Pharma has very close ties to the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA.
The FDA.
The agency is responsible for regulating the safety and efficacy of medications.
That sounds like a huge conflict of interest.
It is.
Like, how can the FDA effectively regulate an industry it's so closely tied to?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And it's one that activists are working hard to address.
Yeah.
They're calling for greater transparency and accountability within the FDA and urging Congress to break those unhealthy ties.
It sounds like an uphill battle,
It is. It is.
but one worth fighting.
Absolutely, because we're talking about the health and well-being of millions of people.
Right.
It's crucial to challenge Big Pharma's undue influence
Right.
and create a healthcare system that puts patients first.
Okay, so we've covered so much ground today. From marketing tactics and disease mongering to lobbying efforts and the FDA's role.
We have.
It's a complex picture,
Yeah.
often disheartening. But what can we as individuals do to navigate this system
Yeah.
and make informed decisions about our own health?
It's a great question. It's easy to feel, overwhelmed and powerless against such a powerful industry.
Yeah.
But there are steps we can take to be more informed and empowered healthcare consumers.
Okay, give us some actual advice. Like, what can we do to take back some control here?
Well, first and foremost, educate yourself.
Okay.
Don't rely solely on pharmaceutical advertising or even your doctor for information about medications.
Right.
Do your own research.
Okay.
Consult independent sources like the Worst Pills, Best Pills guide from Public Citizens.
Worst pills, best pills.
Yeah, ask critical questions.
So, like, be a savvy healthcare consumer.
Yeah.
Like you would with any other major purchase.
Exactly. Exactly.
And don't be afraid to question your doctor's recommendations, right?
Absolutely. You have the right to refuse treatment. You have the right to seek a second opinion. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself and ask your doctor about alternatives to medication,
Right.
like lifestyle changes, therapy, or other treatments. And if medication is necessary, don't hesitate to ask for a cheaper, generic version. They're often just as effective and much more affordable.
Yeah. Generics can save you a lot of money. And remember, you're not alone in this fight.
Right.
Organizations like No Free Lunch and Public Citizen, they're working to empower patients and hold Big Pharma accountable.
They are.
So support their efforts, get involved, and help create a healthcare system that truly puts patients first.
That's right. It's time to shift the balance of power in healthcare and ensure that decisions are made in the best interest of patients, not corporate profits.
Mm.
So, it's been a fascinating, deep dive into the world of Big Pharma.
Yeah.
We've learned about their tactics, their influence, and the importance of being, informed and empowered healthcare consumers.
So before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought. We've seen how pharmaceutical advertising really shapes our views on health and illness. So here's a question for you to consider. If we view those ads as a form of propaganda, how does that change our understanding of health and illness?
Mm-hmm.
What are the implications for our, individual choices and for society as a whole?
That's a really profound question,
Yeah.
and one that deserves careful consideration.
Yeah. I'm eager to hear what insights our listener takes away from this.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a powerful question, and it really gets to the heart of like what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
If we acknowledge that pharmaceutical advertising is operating, at least in part, as propaganda,
Right.
it forces us to really think about those messages we see all the time.
Hmm.
Are we really as sick as those ads want us to believe?
Yeah.
Are we over-medicalizing things that are just normal parts of being human?
Right.
Are we overlooking other ways to improve our well-being, ways that don't involve medication?
It's a strange situation, isn't it? Because, we're told be health conscious, take preventative measures, see a doctor when you need to.
Right.
But at the same time, you're bombarded with all these messages that suggest you're flawed.
Right.
And you need pills to be happy and live a fulfilling life.
That's right. And, profit motives can easily tip the scales, right?
Yeah.
If we accept that these ads are designed to sell products,
Yeah.
not necessarily to improve our health,
Right.
it allows us to look at them with a more critical eye.
So how do we break free from this cycle? How do we take back control of our health and make choices that are really in our best interest?
Well, it all starts with awareness,
Mm.
just like we've been talking about.
Right.
You need to understand the tactics the pharmaceutical industry is using. Question the messages you're seeing and find sources of information that you can trust.
Right.
Remember, you know your own body and your health better than anyone else.
That's a great point. It's about taking back our power as patients, as a society.
Yeah.
We need to demand transparency and accountability and, push for a healthcare system that really does put our well-being ahead of profits.
Exactly. It's about changing the way we think about health.
Okay.
It's not just about avoiding illness. It's about achieving, complete physical, mental, and social well-being.
Right.
And it's about empowering ourselves to make choices that support this bigger picture of health.
You mentioned earlier that there were alternative approaches to well-being that don't involve, pharmaceuticals.
Right.
Could you tell us more about that?
Sure. It's important to remember that pharmaceuticals, while they definitely have their place,
Yeah.
they're not the only path to feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many other approaches that can support our physical, mental, and emotional health.
Okay, I'm really interested, what are some examples of these alternative approaches?
Well, for example, our lifestyle choices have a huge impact on our overall health.
Mm-hmm.
Things like what we eat, how much we exercise, how well we sleep, how we manage stress, and our social connections all play a role. And then there are also practices like yoga, meditation, mindfulness, acupuncture that can help us find balance and harmony within ourselves.
I appreciate that you're, bringing in these holistic perspectives, right?
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that our health has many different facets,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Exactly. It's about finding what works best for you,
Right.
exploring different options, and taking an active role in shaping your own health journey.
Mm-hmm.
True well-being includes not just our physical body, right?
Yeah.
But also our mental, emotional, and spiritual dimensions.
It sounds like you're advocating for, a more integrated and personalized approach to healthcare.
I am.
One that really considers the whole person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's about empowering individuals to take control of their health,
Yeah.
become active participants in their own healing process, and explore options beyond the traditional medical model.
I think this is a really powerful message that will resonate with our listener.
I hope so.
It's about shifting from just managing disease to actively creating health.
Yeah.
You know, it's about understanding that we actually have the power to shape our own well-being.
Precisely. It's about tapping into the wisdom of our bodies,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
listening to our inner voice and making choices that align with our values and priorities.
This is a beautiful vision for healthcare.
It is. It
I
is.
think it's something we can all aspire to. But let's be realistic. Navigating the healthcare system can be incredibly challenging,
It is.
especially, when you're facing a serious health condition.
Right.
So how do we balance this individual empowerment with the need for expert medical care?
Well, that's an important question. I'm not suggesting that we should completely abandon conventional medicine.
Right.
There are definitely times when pharmaceuticals and medical interventions are essential
Yeah.
and can save lives.
Yeah.
But I do believe that we should approach healthcare with a critical mind,
Right.
question what we're told, and advocate for our own needs and preferences.
So it's about finding like a middle ground, respecting medical expertise
Yes.
while also like honoring our own inner wisdom.
Exactly. Exactly. It's about having an open dialogue with our healthcare providers, asking questions, getting clarification, and making decisions that feel right to us.
Yeah. I really appreciate that perspective.
Yeah.
It's about being an active participant in your healthcare journey,
Yes,
not just passively accepting, what's prescribed or recommended.
that's right. We're not just patients. We're individuals with unique needs, preferences, and beliefs. It's about honoring the innate healing power within each of us.
It's about reclaiming our power,
Yeah.
our agency and our fundamental right to make choices that support our well-being.
Beautifully said. I think that's a perfect note to end on.
I agree. This deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
It has.
Yeah.
It has.
And I hope our listener feels empowered to approach their health, with a renewed sense of awareness,
Yes.
curiosity, and self-advocacy.
Yeah.
Remember, you are the ultimate authority on your own body and your own health.
That's right.
Trust your intuition, seek out information, and make choices that really do support your well-being in all of its dimensions.
With all of them.
But the conversation doesn't end here.
Right.
We'll be back in just a moment to explore some additional resources and parting thoughts. So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, but I know there's always more to learn.
There is.
What other resources would you recommend if our listener wants to kind of dig deeper into these issues?
Yeah, so if you're interested in learning more about Big Pharma's marketing tactics and how they impact, what doctors prescribe, I highly recommend the book, The Truth About the Drug Companies, How They Deceive Us and What to Do About It, by Marcia Angel.
Okay.
She's a former editor of the New England Journal of Medicine,
Wow.
and she offers a really, really sharp critique of Big Pharma's influence.
That sounds like a great read. For like a more personal perspective, you could check out Hard Sell, The Evolution of a Viagra Salesman by Jamie Reedy. It's like a funny and eye-opening account
It is.
from, a former pharmaceutical sales rep about what it's really like to work in that world.
Absolutely. And another excellent resource is the website worsepills.org, run by the watchdog group Public Citizen.
Okay.
They provide unbiased, evidence-based information about prescription drugs, covering everything from safety concerns and side effects to cost comparisons.
I love that they offer practical advice and empower patients to make informed decisions about their medications. It's a great reminder that we don't have to just blindly accept what we're told
We don't.
by drug companies or even our doctors.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And when it comes to our health, it's crucial to be informed and proactive.
That's a perfect takeaway message, I think, for our listener. Don't be afraid to ask questions, challenge assumptions, and, seek out information. Your health is in your hands, and you have the right to make choices that align with your values and priorities. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Big Pharma.
It's been fun.
It's been a fascinating journey, and I hope you are leaving with a greater sense of awareness and empowerment.
Yes. And remember, there's always more to explore, more to question, more to learn. The path to well-being is a continuous journey of discovery, and we're all in this together. So keep learning, stay curious, and take good care of yourself.